Hi, everyone. I'm James,
I'm John Michael.
and we're here hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
Who are you guys and where did you come from? Because these two releases that you have so far, especially the new one, are incredible. I'm kind of hooked. I'm glad that Jamie introduced me to you guys, but I've been hooked on your music. So talk to me about that kind of getting together and creating this project.
John Michael, take it away. You go first.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it all started probably last August. Long story short, this project was in a different genre. The vocalist that we had prior, we were only together for a month or something, and he backed out a month before studio dates. I called James as my savior, and I'm like, dude, I have these studio dates. I don't even have a vocalist. And he said, surprisingly, was on board right away. So we went into the studio with another gentleman, Trey Alexander, who's a local guitar player. And we literally went in pretty intentional. We had zero material written. We knew that we wanted to play rock music, but not really what categorized version of it. So we really relied on our mutual philosophy that music is kind of a language, and we wanted to challenge ourselves and see how fluent we were. And one of two things could have happened. It could have ended in a disaster, which I think we were all worried about. But ultimately and thankfully, it ended pretty good. And we were all, I think, really surprised that things came out so smooth. But that's the benefit of and the beautiful thing about music and how chemistry works.
What drew your attention, James, when he reached out to you that first time?
His sincerity and good looks, mostly, I think.
Good answer. I like that.
That's all you need for the band, right?
That's right. I mean, it's
a bunch of natural Justin Biebers,
It's really marketing at the end of the day. And
yeah,
you have to know where your face is. It's right there.
So you guys go into
you clever genius.
So you guys go into the studio this first time around and start creating music. These two releases that we have so far, are these part of that initial session that you guys had, or that you guys had in the studio?
This is actually a mix and match. So we did the first session and came out with two songs, right? We ended up with two songs, and then we went back into the studio for a couple other dates a few months later and put together two new original songs and then another cover song. And the Burnout is from the second session. That's the more kind of a few months more mature version of Valerian Sun, and All at Once was literally our initial, just straight out of the gate single.
What was it about Grant and Carson that you guys wanted to bring them aboard on this new project?
You're good, John. Yeah.
I think part of the advantage of working with Grant and Carson is first their incomparable talent for production at every level, not just at the engineering level, but at the boots on the ground production level.
Mm-hmm.
Of raw songwriting skills, raw doll manipulation. Watching Grant fly, they've got a Captain Kirk Spock thing going on. Carson is kind of the irreverent go by the gut kind of guy, and Grant is absolutely he is the articulate, on the grid, racing around the session file kind of guy. And that's their talent part of the deal. Second part is they're really known for putting out extremely polished and accessible music, rock music. in the genre we're looking for. And I think that was part of the initial goal of the project, was to make something that's a tasteful mix of accessible and like artistically viable too.
So what kickstarted that writing session for the Burnout? You guys mentioned that you came into the studio and started from scratch. So how did that song start up for you guys?
JM?
Yeah. Well, that was interesting, because I think collectively with this project, there's just a lot going on at any given time. I know James will attest to that, and it continues being like that. But coming up with, I think we're battling two things. Not to get off track, but I'll come back to where you are. One door is like, you don't want to be manufactured, and with going in with nothing written, like sometimes things would gear that way, and it would be like, well, we got to pull it back. Like, we do not want this to be at all manufactured. So what we did is we just were coming up with themes and shooting from the hip. James is I'm really thankful for James, because as not just as a songwriter, but as gifted as he is, quote unquote, shooting from the hip, I can say something about, this is a cool theme, and like, I can really relate to this. And James would be like, I can relate to this as well. And Trey will chime in and will say, okay, well, we have a mutual theme here. And then James will articulate it in this like mad scientist way. And literally just his rebuttal will be so polished, that his rebuttal almost turns into the root of the song. It's kind of hard to explain, and I don't want to over articulate it. But no, yeah, I know with the Burnout, it was, a pretty simple theme. It was the essence of just, it's difficult to do anything, whether it's a relationship or a career, and stay in this zone for a long period of time. And I think with anybody, musicians, yourself, Rob, in that industry, traditional careers and relationships, it sometimes can get monotonous, So, battling with the mental health stuff and just trying to put, collectively a positive spin on mental health and the things that surround it, which one component, that I think we've all dealt with is, burning out from things before in the past.
Yeah. And I get that. And I love how we can all relate, like you mentioned, whether it's a relationship, a labor of love, or a business that we're working for. But coming together, like, because you guys have done your own music in the past, your own creative stuff, different from what we're listening to today. So coming in together and creating this track, or just creating music, how did you guys come to this sound?
James, you can take that, buddy.
Sure. I think the best answer is by intuition, almost completely by itself, because there was no, like, we had no time for trial and error. We didn't have we didn't have the time or money for trial and error. Grant and Carson are worth every penny. I'll say that. Nailing the sound was about going with our gut instincts and really relying on each other. There's a lot of trust involved with that, because if you're going with the thing you point at first,
you have to be intentional.
Yeah, you have to be intentional about it, and you have to lean on your partners to make it happen. And thankfully, our trust, I would argue, was not misplaced during those sessions in each other. Yeah.
And also with like Grant Carson, I think we unofficially consider them like the fourth, correct me if I'm wrong, James, but the fourth and fifth member of the band almost, because what they're really great at, is mediating us, because, I can ramble really easily, and James, like I was saying before, he's really good at concentrating a bunch of fluff and putting it into, something that's more concentrated. But no, those guys, I think they were great, because if we got off track, if it wasn't them, somebody in the room was like, hey guys, like, we only have 4 days and we don't have anything written. So, we can't be goofing around. And we were pretty focused, straightforward for 4 days, which was a blessing.
Yeah, they were great at making it all tangible, They're good at they were good at distilling down the raw materials of what we were working with, and
oh, for sure.
Yeah, helping us shape it all.
I feel like you guys did your research with these producers before you guys actually like reached out to them.
Oh, we go way back with them too. So
we do, yeah.
Grant and I worked together on a project back in the day, and he was used to be in a band with one of my close family friends.
Yeah.
I've known those guys for years too. I was in a band called From Ashes to New, based out of Lancaster, and I didn't book the dates with them. The vocalist for that band did, and that's the first time I met them. I think I was like 20 or 21 years old, and first time I've really been in a big studio. And watching Grant, I wasn't working with Carson at that point, but watching Grant was like, I'm like, is this what producing is? Like, this guy is literally, then you understand like the engineer title. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you would need a college degree to do what he's doing.
Yeah, I know. Oh man, it's an art form. It's like a dance. It's like a ballet.
Yeah.
Watching him work. It's crazy.
And to incorporate that, I knew that would have been, I think we all knew that would have been a great asset for us. And it was. And those guys, I mean, we could talk all day literally about those guys. They're just so, no, seriously, like they're so good, and they're so easy to work with. And they just have endless imagination.
And it's better to walk into the studio with somebody that, like Grant and I weren't like best friends or anything. I hadn't seen him since like 2011 or something. But
we even then, fought last week or something. You guys got in a fist fight.
Yeah, I punched him a little, and he punched me a little.
UFC.
My grappling's not as good.
Yeah. No, it was pretty good.
I'm all about that. Anyway, it's always better to walk into the studio with somebody that you're at least even a little bit comfortable with. I feel like, in fact, I would argue that at least 50% of the equation when doing any studio work is the hang. Is the hang good? Is it a good, I hate the word vibe, but is it a good vibe? Are the vibes good? Because if they're not, look out.
Going back to the Burnout, the introduction is beautiful. I love that intro. Whose idea was it to have that intro for the song?
What do you think, James?
I mean, it was Trey's riff. It was Trey's riff, but it's probably Grant's arrangement, I would imagine. Or did Carson do guitars that day?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it obviously, you're right. It was Trey's riff, and then
the like textural thing. Yeah.
Yeah, he added. I did say to Grant, I said I wanted to do some EDM, something like EDM. I didn't say in an intro, but at some point in that song. And I went to a wedding, James. I think you were still there. I went to a wedding, and he said, "I'll send you the bounce, while you're at the wedding." And he sent it to me, and I didn't listen to it till the next morning. And I put it on, and that intro was in there, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like,
it's got that cool like
hit it
filter
perfectly.
Sweep thing. Yeah,
it was great. But yeah, that was. I have that on video too. I think that solo that Trey played in the beginning when we were tracking guitar, and James is like playing with a lightsaber.
I mean, if you put a lightsaber in your studio,
talk about vibes, dude. We're gonna start using that word a lot.
Is this kind of opening the gateway to like whatever we can expect like moving forward? Like, is this the kind of sound that you guys are looking to continue to create, or is this something that you guys are still trying to kind of discover in yourselves?
I don't know. We haven't thought about it. I'm going to let John Michael answer that question while I address the stuff I have in the oven. I'll be right back.
Yeah, you're good, bro. Yeah, I've been thinking about that lately. And, the theme of this project, I think it's kind of like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And initially when we were thinking, we're like, how do we spin, a negative into a positive, not having anything written, James being involved, a couple weeks before we even go into the studio. I'm like, when I did say, we were saying, let's be intentional, we might just carry that on. And it's not the most effective approach to take into a studio, especially, it's not cheap to record at this place, and we're independent, so we're paying for it for now. But yeah, it feels right. And I know a lot of people, especially independents, don't go in with nothing. So I don't know. I've been thinking lately, I have a feeling what next time we go in, it's probably going to be like a 180. We're going to stay within a theme. We wanted to write these 5 songs from the beginning. We had the narrative that we wanted to write the 5 songs, that they were different enough so that we weren't pigeonholed in the future, So the next time we go in, I know I have some ideas, and I know he always has some ideas. It'll be interesting, but we won't probably know exactly until we walk in, to be honest.
I'm not scared of it being kind of an eclectic thing either.
Yeah.
I like one of my favorite, I would say probably at this point, my favorite artist is Jeff Buckley, God rest his soul. And I don't know, he's known for being a little all over the place. So, hey man, if he's
I like quirky too. I think we're a little quirky.
We are definitely goofy. There's no hiding that.
And that has a place as well. Being intentionally like who you actually are, not trying to be somebody else,
I'm excited that I got introduced to you guys, because I really want to see like what else comes out, what else you guys create, because these first 2 songs are incredible.
Yeah, so thanks for having us, man. For sure.
Thank you so much.
It's 6:00 in LA, and it's like 9:30 here, almost 10 o'clock. So, when I found out your name was Rob Herrera, I was like, we've got to do this, man. And you're a likable guy, so we appreciate it. And, any exposure or interest that we can have right now is just a, blessing for us. And we're so thankful.
Great questions. Thank you for the conversation.